parenting phrase I use all the time with my kids. You do what you think is best for your body. I toss this out whenever my kids give me one of those, what do you think I should do? Or does this look safe type looks, which usually happens at a playground. It's my way of letting them know that I think whatever task or challenge they're facing is safe and that I think they're perfectly capable of at least trying, but ultimately it's not my opinion that matters. It's theirs. Coaxing them into trying something just because I think it's safe removes so much of their autonomy. I want them to listen to their inner self and trust their decision-making skills. So I let the choice stay with them. You do what you think is best for your body, and then they can make their decision one way.
There's so many problems with this bad parenting advice because it puts way too much on the toddler as if they have any awareness of what is good for them. They have awareness of what they want in moments, like impulses, like climbing back up the slide the way they want to. Or I was at the park with our granddaughters, and our toddler granddaughter wants to do all kinds of things that are insane. Like she tried to step off this ledge that was way too high, and she would have hit her head. And so with a toddler, you have to be intervening to teach them. So she wanted to go down this bar thing. So I was teaching her, you hold on to the bar and then that's how you slide down. But to assume that she would know that, and she talks about learning their own limitations. And I guess she would say, well, that wouldn't be safe. So she wouldn't let her do that. But still, it seems like, well, why, what's the line of things you've decided are safe and you are going to intervene if it's not, and the things that you think, well, let's just let them decide what's safe.
Yeah, well, and I think what she seems to highlight in this video, what she elevates above all else is the child's autonomy. So if autonomy is the highest good, even if she were to say, hey, I as a parent don't think this is safe, it just seems to be contradictory with then trying to hold up the child's autonomy, their own decision-making, their inner voice. Mm-hmm. And that's where it just seems like there's some inconsistency even in what she's saying here.
Yeah.
And what and this kind of advice she's offering to parents.
Yeah. And from a Christian worldview, is this the highest value that we want to instill in our kids? That their autonomy is the most important thing, that listening to that inner voice of, I think this is good and I'm going to do it is something that they should listen to, that they're the authority, especially as a toddler or a child who's so young that they're still wanting to play at the park. It seems to me just to ignore what I think is completely obvious to any of us who is honest, and that little kids need guidance to know what is appropriate, what's safe, what kind of limits their body has to keep them out of real danger. And I know she would say, well, I took them to a park that's safe, but why, what boundaries do you put? It just seems so, what's the word I'm looking for? It just seems so ambiguous, I guess, and just up to that. It kind of leaves you as a mom going, well, that sounds good and all, but when do I actually stop them from pushing another kid out of the way? Another thing you see at the park all the time is kids pushing each other, hitting, like, move out of my way. I want to do this thing. You see it at the park all the time, especially with toddlers, because they have no awareness or care of what other people's needs are.
Yeah. And I think that is a big problem with this, is that holding up autonomy as you're raising your child. Well, then if that's the highest good, their autonomy, and your kid wants to do bad things to other kids, what's the appeal? What appeal do you have?
Mm-hmm. You mean in stopping them?
Yeah, in stopping them.
Yeah.
And if autonomy is the highest good, then it seems like you've lost any other appeal, or you've lost footing, because you can't even appeal to, well, it violates their autonomy, or it hurts the other child. if autonomy is the greatest good, so what?
Yeah.
So what? And that's where you're seeing kids who are living this out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just talk to elementary school teachers now, and we hear the reports trickle in of how disorienting it is for teachers nowadays with the kinds of kids that are coming into their schools. And we're not talking about high schoolers or middle schoolers. We're talking about first graders, kindergartners who have been raised on this view. Hey, your autonomy is the highest good.
Yeah, that they're the most important person in the room.
Listen to your inner desires and your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
And it is absolutely poison. And that's not an overstatement. This kind of stuff is poison to families,
Yes,
and to the raising of children.